Once upon a time, in a small town in the middle of nowhere, there was a young girl named Emily. Emily was known in the town for her love of adventure and her fearlessness. She often went on hikes in the forest, exploring new trails and discovering hidden paths. But one night, something happened that changed Emily's life forever. It was a dark and stormy night, and Emily was home alone. The power had gone out, leaving her in complete darkness. She lit a few candles and tried to make herself comfortable, but she couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching her. As the night progressed, the storm grew worse, and the wind howled like a pack of wolves. Emily heard strange noises coming from outside, but she couldn't tell if they were real or just her imagination. Suddenly, she heard a loud banging on the front door. Emily froze in fear as she heard the sound of heavy footsteps approaching. She tried to convince herself that it was just the wind, but the banging grew louder and more persistent. Emily slowly approached the door, and when she looked through the peephole, she saw a figure standing on the other side. It was a tall, dark figure, with long arms and sharp claws. Emily's heart raced as she realized that the figure was not human. She backed away from the door, but the figure continued to bang and scratch at it, trying to get inside. Emily tried to find her phone to call for help, but the power was out, and the phone was dead. She was completely alone, with no one to turn to. She sat in the corner of her room, clutching a baseball bat, waiting for the figure to break down the door. Suddenly, the figure stopped banging on the door and started to whisper her name.
Emily. Emily. Come out. Come outside.
Emily's heart pounded as she heard the figure's voice. She knew that she couldn't go outside, but she also knew that she couldn't stay in the house any longer. With a trembling hand, Emily slowly opened the door and stepped outside. The rain soaked through her clothes, and the wind blew her hair in all directions. She saw the figure standing in front of her, and as it stepped into the light, she saw its face and screamed. It was a face that she recognized all too well. It was the face of her deceased mother, who had passed away years ago. Emily froze in fear as she saw her mother's ghostly figure standing before her. The figure smiled and extended its hand towards Emily.
Come with me, Emily. Come with me, and we'll be together forever.
Emily shook her head and tried to back away, but her mother's figure advanced towards her, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Suddenly, Emily's eyes shot open, and she realized that it was all a dream. But the fears that she had felt in her dream lingered, and she couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was watching her. She looked around her room and saw nothing out of the ordinary, but the feeling of dread remained. Emily tried to go back to sleep, but the fear had taken hold of her. She lay in her bed, listening to the rain and the wind outside, and wondering if she would ever feel safe again. And as the night dragged on, the fear grew stronger, and Emily knew that she would never be the same again. As Emily lay in her bed, she tried to calm herself down by taking deep breaths and reciting positive affirmations. She told herself that it was just a dream, that her mother's ghostly figure wasn't real, and that she was safe in her own home. But the fear wouldn't go away, and Emily found herself slipping into a state of panic. She knew that she needed to do something to distract herself and take her mind off the scary thoughts that were racing through her head. So she decided to turn on the TV and watch something lighthearted and funny. She flipped through the channels until she found a comedy show that she enjoyed, and she settled in to watch. As she watched the show, she felt herself starting to relax. The jokes and the laughter helped to ease her mind, and she began to feel like herself again. But then, just as she was starting to feel like everything was going to be okay, she heard a sound coming from her closet. It was a soft, shuffling sound, like something was moving around inside. Emily froze, her heart racing with fear. She had always been afraid of closets, ever since she was a child. She knew that she couldn't ignore the sound, but she was too scared to investigate. She lay in her bed, listening to the sound, until it suddenly stopped. She waited for a few more moments, but there was no more noise. Emily's curiosity got the better of her, and she decided to investigate. Slowly, she got out of bed and approached the closet. She took a deep breath and slowly opened the door. And that's when she saw it. There was a shadowy figure crouched in the corner of the closet, its eyes glowing in the darkness. Emily screamed and slammed the door shut, running back to her bed. She lay there, trembling with fear, and wondered what she should do next. She knew that she couldn't stay in the house any longer, but she also knew that she couldn't leave it. As the night dragged on, Emily tried to calm herself down and convince herself that she had just imagined what she saw, but the fear wouldn't go away. She lay in her bed, listening to the sound of the rain and the wind, and wondering if she would ever be able to sleep again. Just when Emily thought that things couldn't get any worse, she heard a scratching sound at her bedroom window. She sat up in bed and looked towards the window, but couldn't see anything. The scratching continued, growing louder and more persistent. Emily's heart was pounding in her chest as she slowly got out of bed and walked towards the window. As she approached, she saw that there was a hand pressed against the glass, its bony fingers scratching at the surface. Emily screamed again and stumbled backwards, tripping over her own feet and falling to the ground. She lay there, panting and gasping for breath, as the scratching at the window continued. She could feel the fear closing in around her, and she knew that she had to do something before it was too late. With shaking hands, Emily reached for her phone and dialed 911.
911, what's your emergency?
She explained to the operator what was happening and begged for help. The operator stayed on the line with her, keeping her calm and talking her through the situation. Within minutes, she could hear the sound of sirens in the distance. As the police arrived, Emily felt a sense of relief wash over her. She knew that she was safe now, and that the nightmare was finally over. It turned out that the scratching at the window was just a tree branch tapping against the glass. Emily finally calmed down, until she heard a dark, sinister chuckle behind her. When she turned around, she saw